In fact, look at what happened over time in these periods. The number of people first rose, and any given work site rose, and then it started falling. Make sense? You keep going to smaller and smaller groups of work people. I find an expert somewhere halfway across the world. I make that person a part of my team. The percent of people who are on staff functions continues to rise. The structure of people, how people work together, changes. We went from guilds, and the first time ever we actually started talking about teams was in the 1980s. Really talking about teams. Before that, we talked about individuals working for their managers. New skills come into play. At each stage, for very, very different reasons, without going into details, fundamentally new skills are required in order to actually make progress. And finally, how you oversee people's work changes. The master used to oversee work. Once you give the worker the micrometer and the straight plane, the worker could oversee his or her own work. The foreman then took over, and the foreman started letting go. One of the reasons why we had huge problems over here. Just in time wasn't hard. Statistical process control had been invented in the United States 30 years earlier. That wasn't hard. What was hard? What was hard? The idea that a manager needs to step back and step away and let a group of people whom he or she did not trust at that time come together as a team and make their own decisions. That was very, very hard. Most large companies couldn't do it. Because they couldn't deal with it, they couldn't adopt lean, even though the tools were very, very simple. In fact, they were simpler than the tools they were replacing. Right.
What do you define as staff?
Anybody who is not actually working hands-on.
Why would staff go up as we move to dynamic?
Because what tended to happen is you needed more people for planning functions. Okay? So for example, you had your real quality control department set up in a very big way, doing all of these things about setting up signal process control and others at that point in time. Increasingly, you're getting people who are, for example, going out and saying, we need to manage intellectual property. Those were people that you did not have. So the proportion of people who are actually moving into non-touching the product or touching the service functions are going up. And again, the idea is, as companies today, we are not prepared for it. What do you think is going to happen here? If you looked at this set of numbers, what would you project? Okay. You would have fewer and fewer people at each location. You have to be networked together. You have a fairly high percent of staff, largely because you're now managing intellectual property, you're managing logistics, you're managing a whole bunch of things that you didn't. Okay? And by the way, you have somebody sitting in a call center waiting for Amit Mukherjee to call up from Milan, Italy, saying, I have a problem, it's not your problem, but I expect you to solve it for me. Right? So you have those people. The structure has moved to networks of people, of companies, of groups. And now, one of the fundamental challenges then becomes for you as an executive is how do you make this entire network work together? How do you get them to understand that we've solved a problem here, and you know what? You should take our solution. It'll help you. This idea of learning, generalizing, spreading information across the network then becomes critically important. Back to my Visa story. That bit of information that I exchanged with the agent who finally said, yeah, you are right and I'm wrong, didn't get to anybody at Visa. Nobody learned from it. The entire Visa system hasn't learned from it. In contrast, the day after I had the call with American Express, somebody called me up and said, how did that go? What could we have done to improve the situation? So learning now becomes, in a network world, becomes critical. And you don't get to supervise these people.
You say few staff. Do you really mean few staff when you, that there are going to be significantly fewer, people? There are going to be significantly fewer people making the product? Or is it just that the people are going to be shifted to other organizations, other companies?
What I mean is that at each individual location where people are working, there'll be fewer and fewer people working.
You're not implying that there will be fewer people that are involved in the total chain.
No. But there'll be smaller and smaller groups which you will sort of link together to make these wonderful innovations happen. And if you can't figure out a way of linking them, it doesn't matter what product you design, what service you create, it's going to fail. This is the part that seems to me that very, very few organizations are truly worrying about, truly dealing with, truly working